Hello everybody, this is your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome to our Premier League preview podcast on the Football Podcast. Never fails. It never fails. So, Jonathan, Burkbot and Neil joining you here. Just me in the room, but the other two are very far away. Just trust me on that one. And
I'm in space.
yeah, it certainly sounds like you're in space too. So lads, football's coming home. Are we excited?
Sure.
I was a lot more excited this morning.
Before I woke up, I was really excited. And then I woke up with like Twitter having a meltdown.
Yes.
And now I'm not so excited.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I went to sleep full of excitement for the new season.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel now?
Less excited.
Right. So
it's like waking up on Christmas morning to find like all your presents have been stolen, and like not even coal has been left.
A Christmas burglary. That's how we're summarising Arsenal's start to the season already. Haven't even started yet.
Yeah. All our hopes and dreams smuggled away before we even get a chance to enjoy them.
Be locked away in a Delaware-based PLC.
My, how oddly specific, Neil. It's almost like you're talking about somebody. Anyway, so before we do get to the despair grasping all of our gooners in the room, or out of the room, as the case may be, we are going to talk generally about the top teams first in this podcast. Then we're going to go right down to the opposite side, to the bottom of the table, see who we think are going to be scrapping for points, scrapping for survival. And then we're obviously going to be talking about anyone in the mid-table that's piquing our interest, or like any kind of like players we have specifically our eye on. And then we're going to go for a big long look into the crystal football, because that has always worked on these podcasts. We always get this spot on, and we're going to try and predict.
I have a 100% record. Like, if you want to go back through all the podcasts and check it out, I think you'll find I have a 100% record of calling these.
I had a 66.7% record, but actually I did a deal for the other 30.2% this morning. So yeah, I'm up on that 100% right now.
Very topical satire there, Neil. Thanks very much. Is it the only reason you only went? Yeah, you only did the deal for the 32% because you weren't willing to budge the rest of the 66. That's how it works, right?
That's it. Yeah.
You just didn't want to sell out. That's fair. So yes, with that being said, then let's start off then with only the team we could start off with, and that's the defending champions, Manchester City. Is it their year again, lads?
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very much in agreement with you. I have to say.
Their last season they were a well-drilled side.
Mm-hmm.
The only things that they've done in the Premier or in the transfer window has not too much. The only big name really is Riyad Mahrez, but he's going to be a great addition to any midfield. So yeah, I can just see them dominating. Kind of storming ahead. Like, if they can keep Aguero fit and scoring, that's all. You know, they're going to win it 100%. With maybe a 25-point advantage over the next team or whatever. But they still have great options if he isn't fit. And that's just scary and sad for the rest of us.
And I presume that you're mirroring that, Neil, as well, are you?
I am a bit. To be honest, I watched the Charity Shield match between them and Chelsea. And the City second string side was just fucking fearsome.
Yeah.
When Bernardo Silva is like your third choice, number 10, like holy shit.
Yeah.
Because he's fucking incredible. Mahrez is really going to mix things up for them. They're going to stick him out on the right so they can just plough Sterling straight, or Bernardo Silva straight through the middle. And Jesus Christ, that's just going to make them so unbelievably flexible. And yeah, that's it. I don't see them doing anything. They might get a central midfielder because they were in for Jorginho before he went to Chelsea.
Yeah, they have been trying to get somebody of his stature, at least just some sort of replacement for Fernandinho. Really, generally speaking.
That's it.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, Fernandinho's still really excellent. He's 33. fuck it, they've got Gundogan to switch over for De Bruyne. They've got that shithole 18-year-old Foden coming through. Fuck it, basically it's what happens when you've been playing for the last 3 years with the cheat codes on.
Yeah, exactly, and like I said, I can't really speak about that myself, considering we've more or less now done the same thing. But it's unfortunately kind of a proven formula now. Like it's just the way you do the scouting now. Is like you isolate the one player you want, and you basically open the bank balance and say how much do you want, and it's worked for Man City because look at the team they've now amassed. Do you have so much? You have so much, not even just talent. You have pace. You've got again talent, youth. And a clinical aspect to it. Like if you said to somebody like 2 or 3 years ago that Raheem Sterling would nearly get to 20 goals in a season, you would be absolutely laughed out because Sterling is never a natural finisher. He still isn't, but his game has improved so much to the level that he doesn't need to be a natural finisher. He's just in the position and just have to tap it in. Like it's the way even Guardiola sets up the team is so complementary to whoever is in the side. Like he makes players look good. Look at Fabian Delph, for example. Like he was nowhere near being a decent player, but he was needed as a left back, and it fucking worked. It's baffling, And yeah, I'm kind of with you guys on this one. They are essentially the gold standard of the Premier League, and I don't think you can really actually get any closer to them unless you start financially competing with them, which is why I feel there is a strong title contender, but to basically try and beat Man City have to have a really terrible season, and I can't see them doing that. I can just see them just keeping up the tempo from last year.
Yeah, and like even just having a load of the players not necessarily being very long at the World Cup, they've had like Leroy Sané is going to come out on fire, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Had the summer to rest. He'll have a point to prove. He's going to rip shit up.
Yeah, I've tipped him to be I've tipped him actually for a strong contender for the Golden Boot actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, bit left field, but I think he'll score a lot more goals than people expect.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yeah, I suppose like in a way, the only way that they could really struggle is if people try and figure out the Guardiola side. But then again, I think Guardiola's worst enemy is himself sometimes by overcomplicating things, especially in big matches where he tries to be too clever or tries to, kind of double think himself when all he has to do is just perfect the system he's had in place for years at that team. And again, they're a joy to watch. Like it's such free flowing football, and it's really honest football as well. Like they just have the players that can do that. And why would you do like stuff like park the bus when you can have pretty much all the talent in the world, I suppose, but you still have to get them to play in the end.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I think that his team will have a better relationship than the likes of Manchester United with their manager. So they'll probably be willing to work and dig their heels in, and if they need to do the nitty gritty defending, they will.
Yeah,
but that's not necessarily going to be their plan A.
Well, you can kind of see it in lads like Vincent Kompany. Like Kompany actually kept up with the pace quite well last season. And again, I think it's just the way Guardiola complements the training, complements the formation for his players. Like if he knows he has someone quite frail like Kompany, maybe not put them through arduous training. Maybe just ease them up a little bit or whatever. Probably same with Fernandinho. I'd say Fernandinho does not feel like a 33-year-old whatsoever because everything is complementary to the players,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's very hard to actually see anybody beating Man City outright. Like, I know you can get at them, but you have to be playing at the same intensity as they do, which is very hard to do, like, just on a one-off. It's either that or you have to basically do a Wigan and just, like, don't play football at all and hope for the best. But that's not going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So in terms then, do we have anyone down as potential botherers to Man City then?
I think you would be happy to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I have Liverpool.
Neil,
Liverpool will probably be the only ones that bother them.
Yeah, I'm afraid I've got the same thing as well. Like it is because we've just spent so much goddamn money this season. But it's on players that we actually did need. You know, there's no riffraff in those signings. It's not like some weird like signing. Ooh, he might be good. These are players that we've identified that will actually improve the squad. So I see us as a bit of a spoiler for later on in the show, but I see us as nailed on second place this season.
Right. Okay.
And that's a minimum, in my opinion. Regardless of whatever tournament, whatever like competitions we're in, nailed on second place. That's the minimum we can do in the league, that's more so because of expectations. It's also now that we have the squad depth as well to do it, and just look at the league around you. Like Spurs are not improving well. They're not improving. They're not signing anybody to upgrade the squad. Chelsea, Arsenal, they're going to have tumultuous years because of new managers and new systems. And we'll get to Manchester United in due course. So, in a way, if Man City weren't around, as it were, if it was, say, like, if Guardiola wasn't there or, like, Man City didn't have their act together, this would be the year for us to win the title because the stars were aligning for us everywhere else except for City. We can only do so much in that regard. But City's there, they're the ones to beat. And trying to beat them over 38 match days, that's very, very hard to do. And I don't think we're not quite there to do it.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think your signing this summer have been pretty on point.
Yeah, and like I said, there hasn't been any pussyfooting around bar maybe the Fekir deal, because obviously we saw something that we didn't like, and I suppose the policy is that we don't want to sign somebody who might be crocked like 2 or 3 months in. And that's a good attitude to have, especially when you are now dealing with transfer fees of like 50-60 million pounds. You have to get someone in who's robust enough to survive at least one fucking match. You know what I mean? So that might be why we signed Shaqiri for for whatever money we did, because I'm fairly sure he would actually run through walls for this team after seeing him live.
That stat, he hadn't missed a match in X amount of hours. He's just kind of one of these perpetual running machines. So when he chooses to run and not just stand there.
In his defense, it's very hard to run for a team like Stoke, because there's not much happening really. What can you really do when Paul Lambert is saying, attack when attack whatever. How
enthused are you going to get about making that killer through ball when the person you're hitting the through ball to is Charlie Adam?
True. And as we all know, Charlie Adam, deep fried Charlie Adam, is the one true voice of football. Whatever he says is the law. And if Charlie Adam, who's obviously one of the fittest players in the country, tells you that you're not up to scratch, well, takes one to know one, I suppose.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I like. I like a man, who basically is so unfit he's breaded.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Flagging off another man who very clearly does not skip leg day.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was at the Napoli game over the weekend, and I was saying this to you earlier on, but for everyone else, probably wouldn't appreciate it in the sense when you see him on the pitch, but he was warming up half an hour before he came on. He came on at half time, and he was on 30 minutes beforehand with the fitness coach. It's a funny story between those two, by the way. And they have a great rapport because our fitness coach was a Bayern Munich alumni, and he was there on the same time Shaqiri came into the side. So the two actually have quite a relationship, because it's kind of believed that that fitness coach is the guy that gets Shaqiri going, in a sense. He that actually knows what programs he needs, knows what his diet is and the whole shebang. He's the guy that kind of gets players like Shaqiri.
He built those calves.
Essentially, yes, is what I want to say. I don't want to give him too much credit, but there's definite rapport there. And you might have seen the gif going around of Shaqiri doing the finger gun salute. That's who he was doing the salute to, was his former best mate at Bayern Munich. So that's a fun fact. But even still, warming up half an hour before he's supposed to come on, and a good 15 minutes before everyone else was warming up as well, both on Liverpool and Napoli side. And even then, during the halftime interval, came out good 10 minutes before he was meant to, and started having a kick about with the lads, with the subs, and then comes on and then runs around for 45 minutes. Like the actual stamina was incredible from him because he generally didn't stop moving during that match. And sure, Napoli were fucking low hanging fruit at this stage, but he was playing on the left side, then he was on the right side, number 10, centre forward. You know, you can see where he's going to fit in the team, and that's fucking everywhere, basically.
Yeah, and if you can get a work rate out of him, he'll be lethal in midfield, and that's what you guys are going to need. And that's why I think, like, you've got a good keeper signed to replace the Calamity Karius. And with Alisson there, like, you should have a good few clean sheets behind you. Yeah. Not entirely sold on the defence. But I think attacking going forward, that is your best. That's going to be impossible to defend against from other teams' point of view. So, yeah, I can see he's putting a real test up to Man City, and Tip Top will be happy.
Yeah, like I said, and he's been very realistic about it. He's basically just saying like the league success is subject to Man City, really, in the end. Like, if City have a bad year, it's our opportunity. Like I said, you can't really see, like, at this juncture, at least before the start of the season, you can't see like a revitalised, almost like a straight away revitalised Arsenal or Chelsea until maybe in the later on the season, and they come on to a string of wins. Maybe they might be in contention then. Same with Spurs. But even like early season form, you know, this is such a glorious chance for us to start getting wins straight away. And even seeing them like live, you can see the level of fitness compared to everybody else. It's fucking superhuman, you know. Especially with, as you were saying, especially with the type of players who got in, the likes of Keita and Fabinho not so much, but Keita and Shaqiri, those two in particular look so fit, and the season hasn't even started yet. Sturridge, by the way, 6 goals in pre-season, absolutely brilliant. He scored in more or less every fucking friendly we've had, and he just scored tonight actually against Torino. So he looks like he's back to form and wants to fight for contention. I knew that loaning him to West Brom would work out either way, because he clearly got fucking shell shock playing there, getting relegated. So he's copped on as well. And that's pretty much like a new signing for us, having a fully fit Sturridge, you know, and a Sturridge that's trying to play a little bit now into the Klopp system. Like he's tracked back a lot, he's moving around a bit, he's again a lot more fitter than he was. So yeah, it's looking really good for us. As you were saying, the one kind of question mark, I suppose, is the defence. That's always going to be a problem when you have Dejan Lovren in the side, and Matip isn't the best either. But like I said, Van Dijk, and Van Dijk has kept, you know, has kept Lovren quite honest, and they've become quite a good partnership. But there's always that like veil of doubt with Lovren. Something could go terribly wrong at any moment, and he's the one to blame.
Don't you know, he was in a World Cup and he was in a Champions League final. Like, come on, he is clearly class.
I mean, no smoke without fire, of course, but to be fair though, well, that is kind of impressive, but it's also not as impressive as Modric, who's done the same thing and like at least won one of those competitions, or Rafael Varane, who won both. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, I suppose.
That's true.
I will say one thing about Alisson. He wasn't really tested in the Napoli game. He's actually lost. He conceded a goal tonight, which is a shame. But he wasn't really tested in the Napoli game. And but from what I've seen of him, his skills are very much like distribution and aerial skills. So in the lead up to the first goal, he plays out this superb 60-yard pass to Salah. And it comes from, like, I think it came from a Napoli cross. So he caught the ball, waited a few seconds, like dropped it to his feet. So it wasn't a drop kick. He dropped it to his feet and then lobbed it over to Salah on the right flank. And it did hit Salah. Like, didn't go out wide. It went exactly to where Salah was running to. And the whole crowd went, fucking hell. And it was like the first thing that Alisson did in the game, you know. So and about, I say, a minute or two later led to the first goal. So if essence, Alisson's like cross over to Salah basically caused the first goal, and that was generally a theme of the game. Then was actually the distribution, was the kicking over to, like, to either flank, any corner that came from Napoli, he had safe hands on. So, even at that stage, not necessarily being tested as such in this game, but the areas that you could demonstrate vast improvement on Karius, and you can see why we spent the money, because we really fucking needed to.
Yeah, like I don't think he's thrown the ball into his own net at once.
Not yet. Let me just check Twitter and see.
Fantastic.
Yeah. To be fair though, there was a crazy stat about him basically saying like I think he's up there with De Gea and Oblak in terms of unforced errors, or as in like successful saves. I think it is. So it's a crazy stat that kind of proves how good he will be for us.
Yeah, I think Oblak from Atletico Madrid has like an 83%.
Yes.
Like save percentage.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's like 80. And then he's 79, so like, yeah, no, he's gonna be worth his money.
Definitely. And like I said, and these are deficiencies we knew about even like during the season. It just like probably it wasn't really the right time to sign Alisson either, because Roma were looking for like 19 million for him in January, so we were waiting for the price to go down basically. But I have to say, well done to everyone behind the scenes at Liverpool, because they've really knocked it out of the park this year. They've made a god out of the new sporting director. He is basically the one true god at Liverpool, basically. Sorry, Robbie Fowler, but times have changed. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they play. I really am. It just is a matter of like trying to keep the intensity going, trying to keep the energy going as well, because that was the one failing, I suppose, from last season, was that we would wilt around the hour mark. At least now we have more midfielders. It'll be the case that now we can bring on lads like Wijnaldum or Milner or Lallana now to supply that energy. We don't need to be relying on them anymore, which is great. It'll look like our midfield is going to be Fabinho, Keita and Henderson. That's our starting trio. Although I put forward that maybe Shaqiri might be in for Henderson. That's a different issue. Either way, you've got so many midfield options now, and all they have to do is run around and pass balls. It's easiest job in the world in that regard.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything to contribute, Neil?
Just say, those are going to be just bloody interesting to watch. Yeah, I don't think your defensive frailties will be exposed too much with Fabinho there.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
Yeah, Klopp has just realised that we can't really shit any more money around on really expensive defenders.
Yeah.
So opted for defensive midfield cover. You've gone from a midfield potentially of Henderson, Lallana, and Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
To fucking Fabinho, Shaqiri, and fucking
Keita.
No, it's not Ethan's fine.
Yeah. Well, Keita would be in there instead.
Keita. Sorry, yeah, it's Keita. Yeah. And yeah, no, it's to be honest, it's brilliant. I can't really fault anything.
Yeah.
I didn't watch a whole lot of Alisson. I didn't watch all our Roma games. Alisson was there, so no real idea. But his distribution, he's easily miles better with the ball at his feet than Karius and the way he put together. Even
under pressure, the difference is.
That is the Brazilian way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. It's going to be quite good. But like I said, it all depends on it all clicking.
Yeah, it does.
City stole a real lead at the start of last season when Klopp figured out what the fuck he was doing at the back, and you just started shipping goals until it got sorted and sort of nobody ever really caught up with him. So
yeah.
I think to be honest with you, I think he'll have a good. I don't think you'll win it, but I definitely think you're nailed on for a second World Cup run. I think you might actually win a cup.
I'd hope so too. I'd hope so too, because like I said, it's that kind of axe that's been hanging over us for a while. So in that sense, then it'd be nice to win a cup, But either way, like I'm not sure like if it's a priority as such, or is it just actual progress we're looking for. But like I said, there's a strong proportion of Liverpool fans that want to see something from this team, at least some sort of like tangible
you've got to win. You've got to win something. You got to the final of the Champions League last season.
Yeah.
And have put 170 million quid on top of that squad.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to win something.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, it really makes my skin crawl to agree with Jose Mourinho about anything. When he very, very tetchily stated that the Liverpool fans really should start demanding win like trophies from Klopp. I don't think he's too far wrong, and burns me to say.
Yeah, he does have a point. And as Klopp kind of said, it is a gradual process, but now it's at the stage now where, listen, you're spending the money, you're getting the players in that you want, and this is arguably the best the team's going to get until you maybe start getting some squad depth with other players coming in. You know, what's the next signing going to be? It's probably going to be another centre-back. And what else do you need then? That's it. You can't start like looking at this team and just going, no, this is perfect. You know, this is the only hole that's left to be plugged, and then you have the perfect team. You've got cover for every position. You've got, and you will have enough squad depth in the end to mount any challenge for any competition. You now have to start winning. And yeah, you are absolutely right. I think people are just kind of saying like, well, is it this year that's going to be the year where we start kicking ass, or is it next year? But sure, we were very close last year to winning the Champions League final, so we never know.
I think people are afraid to say it because they're afraid of being labelled as kind of naysayers. Like,
yes.
Winning something there, but it's like, no, you really, really, really do. Like,
yeah, definitely. Right, so with that in mind, then, so we've obviously generally locked in like perhaps City and Liverpool as the main kind of like protagonists in the league this year. So let's move on then to the rest of the top 6 teams then. So it'll seem like we have 4 teams vying for 2 other Champions League positions. That being Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs and Manchester United. How do we rate Arsenal's chances this season with Unai Emery?
I have us coming in 3rd.
Interesting.
I do too. I also kind of went out and made this list last night before.
Yeah, we better get the elephant out of the room and talk about Stan Kroenke. Who has it?
Like, it's what a fucking metaphor to use.
Yeah, I know Kroenke knows how to get an elephant out of a room in fucking.
You're stupid.
Yeah.
Good God. Yeah. So, how do we? Obviously, you're all not keen on having Stan Kroenke now the only owner of Arsenal. I think I used the phrase earlier today that this is now going to be the next Newcastle situation, and I still stand by that, in my opinion. This is going to go very, very badly for you guys, I'm afraid.
Yeah, go on.
No, I don't really... To be honest with you, it could go either way, but I don't think it'll go as bad as we think. For instance, like there's only a few subtle differences to what Kroenke can do as a 100% owner that he couldn't do as a 66 as a majority shareholder.
Right.
Like, there's absolutely nothing he could do this season as 100% that last year he couldn't do, except take the company, Arsenal, now the company, private.
Yes.
That's it. That's really the only thing he can do. That's really the only thing he could do that he couldn't do earlier on. So I think what he's going to do, he's going to keep up the whole Silent Stan image and very rare, not tamper with the team a lot. Mm-hmm. The main problem comes from the fact that his buyout is financed primarily by this idiotic 2-year bridge loan from Deutsche Bank. Mm-hmm. Which, interestingly enough, I actually went onto the Arsenal website and read the terms of, which you can read, terms of the loan online, because Arsenal is still now a public company.
Yes.
So everything's transparent. And if either Kroenke or his wife dies, that's actually technically considered a default on the loan, and Deutsche Bank will then will be for a period of time be the majority shareholders of Arsenal. Mm. So I don't understand. That's a bit of a weird one.
That is a bit weird, yeah.
The problem is that he's going to lever the debt of that onto the club. They say they're not going to, but you know, when he makes the company private, you know, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Nobody can stop him.
But that is the case though with a lot of. I mean, look, like I said, history kind of repeats itself in football. You know, as we've seen that a lot of times with American owners. Like I can draw attention to Randy Lerner at Aston Villa when that happened to them. Mike Ashley is a obviously notable example of Newcastle. I'd also say the American owners of Swansea. You know, Swansea were a publicly owned company, and Hugh Jenkins was the chairman, and then they got bought out by an American consortium, and now they're currently struggling in the championship after one match day. It's a common pattern, I'm afraid, and I can draw comparisons to Hicks and Gillette. We were talking about that before the show. They were trying to kind of take Liverpool away from the fans and trying to make it part of their own little syndicate, where that's just not going to work. And I think Kroenke is going to try and kind of do the same thing, where the finances of Arsenal starts merging with the finances of everything else, and that's where you start getting into dangerous territory. Because if you look at the Glaziers of Manchester United, they're still PLC in a sense. They're still primary owners, but they still have to keep some of their books public. You know, you still see some of their finances. Arsenal, you're not going to see anything now. You could be under tons of debt without even realising it.
Yeah, very much, and that's just it. But like I said, I just hope that Kroenke just continues as he is. That his takeover of Arsenal is purely for the fact that he just really did not like Usmanov, and that's it. And he just ignores the club. The club's gotten a tremendous setup anyway.
Yes.
I think it's worth pointing to the backroom recruitment since Wenger up sticks and left, and that the triumvirate that we've got in charge, which is Mislintat, Sanelli, and now Unai Emery, with Gazidis possibly still over there. It depends if he goes off to AC Milan.
Yes.
So that's a great kind of structure there. So, you know, I am still excited for next season.
You sound cautiously optimistic, if anything.
No, I'm not really. Like, I can be excited for the season, but not optimistic.
Right.
To be mutually exclusive. I'm excited because, you know, it's going to be something different. As to whether or not it's going to be a bad different or a good different,
yes.
I don't know. I just want something different.
Fair
Arsenal
enough.
had very much hit the stage where stasis was worse than... Stasis is sometimes worse than failure.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely the case anyway.
Yeah. And I'm not one of these people who's deathly allergic to being, you know, proven wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Emery isn't the answer to Arsenal, then fine. I'll hold the hand up and say, look, I'm wrong. But one thing I definitely know is that Wenger was no longer the answer.
Yeah, that's fair. In that case, then let's go strictly to the football and business. Then you've made a good number of signings this season, very early signings as well, which is, you know, I think is a sign of good scouting in my view.
Excellent sign, actually.
Yeah, and a few of them are kind of under the radar. Some of them have experience, some of them have promise. A good healthy mixture of signings, to be fair, and they're signings you actually did really need to do, in my view.
Oh, very much so. Signing, I was kind of interested by the signing of Leno.
Mm-hmm.
That really came out of left field. Didn't expect that, but I'm happy it happened. We've needed a strong backup to check for a while, and somebody to take over from him, and Leno ticks both of those boxes.
Yeah.
Watched a good bit of Leno when he first cropped up on our radar, and 26 isn't old for a goalkeeper by any stretch of the imagination. Good shot stopper, decent reactions, good in the box, very good in the air, but has a bit of he's still prone to the odd mistake or habit that you would have thought that at the age of 26 and after so much experience, I think he's got like something like 400 club caps to his name already.
Yeah.
That you would expect him to have not that would have been trained out of him, like, you know, the odd mistake. But thankfully, with the totally new goalkeeping coaching staff at Arsenal, they clearly think that, yeah, they can really improve him. Mm-hmm. And if we can, then he was a fucking steal for the money.
So is he the signing that's impressed you the most out of the lot? Which one? Is there anyone one that's actually stood out for you? Torreira. And so what is he like the new, as it were? Because obviously he looks like quite a scrappy kind of midfielder, like a is he box to box, or is he kind of like a Santi Cazorla type of player?
he would be a more kind of sort of a mix between a Cazorla and a Coquelin in that he will be a purely defensive midfielder.
Right.
Like Flamini.
Yes, he will be basically an upgraded Flambeau.
Well, that's good, I guess.
It's good because he's got a very good passing range. Funnily enough, when he started out his career, he started out as a striker. Slowly shifted every single successive team that he went to, shifted him back and back further down the pitch until I think his last team then they just went, look, they recognised his passing range and just went, here, we'll make you a central midfielder. Where he utilised his supposed twin advantages of unbelievable stamina and a superb vision. So I'm really looking forward. It doesn't burn me, but it's a good way to get a rise out of an Arsenal fan by reminding that 2 years ago we could have very easily signed N'Golo Kante from Leicester.
Yes. So
so I think this goes quite a lot of the way towards maybe correcting that.
So Torreira is going to be a decent prospect this season. I'm looking forward to seeing him, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Guendouzi.
Yes.
The mop from Lorient, and he. I saw them play live in the Aviva there last week, and he bossed it. In the first half of that match, we were atrocious, but he was the only one looking to get the ball and go forward with it. Everyone else was passing back to check, which was extremely frustrating. Whereas anytime he got the ball, he was looking for that forward pass. And the amount of interceptions and tackles that he made was like unbelievable. And then in like little things that I was just thinking, like the amount of passing he did, there was maybe one or two times he got the ball and like passed it out to no one, or made a stupid decision as in passing it to the guy who had two people around him rather than the guy who was free.
Yeah.
And it was like but that happened like twice, and both times it was like shocking. It was like, oh my god, what are you doing? It's like, wait, this is the guy playing the first 90 minutes for the club.
Yeah.
And he's only a young lad. He's very, very fresh.
19.
And he's like I think he's going to be great. He's a great prospect. And like he's kind of like being touted as a DM sort of player, but I could see him being a box to box like central midfielder now.
I was about to ask that actually. Like, what is his role supposed to be? Because like he comes across like a number 8, as it were. Like that sort of like, do you know what? Kind of in the mold of a Ramsey type of player. That's someone who's kind of like receiving the ball from one end and trying to switch the play a bit. Yeah,
well, that's exactly the role. So he, Ramsey was due to start. Now, so was Guendouzi.
Yeah.
In that game, but it ended up that
Chelsea bought him. Yeah. What? Yeah. What?
Ramsey pulled out of training. Now, I was watching that warm up. I did not see any calf strain. But, Guendouzi then I think took up that role. So I think it was who came on. Smith Rowe came on and played that kind of more forward position, and Guendouzi then kind of was the box to box and set everything up. And I just think he's a fantastic prospect, and whether he'll get this, I think he's there as cover for if the likes of El Neni or Xhaka gets himself red carded or sent off.
Yeah.
Because that's
gonna happen. Yeah.
More so with Xhaka, but I think that's his role, is that he's going to be a sub in for them as that kind of defensive midfielder. But the lad showed promise, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, no, just in terms of the other signings that we made, like they're all kind of defensive. They're all defensive. There's no one really like Guendouzi could possibly be the most attacking player there. Like we've got Torreira who can do the forward passing, but will pick up breaking ball and dirty ball further down the pitch. But we've got Lichtsteiner and Socrates in, and they were badly needed. Our defence is our weakest point. It's well known that's the case, and I think they are. I didn't know Lichtsteiner, to be fair, before we signed him, really. I was who the fuck is this guy? We signed a country? What? But yeah, no, I watched him in the World Cup, and like he's a solid number two to Bellerin.
Yeah.
And Socrates, then I knew him from like anyone who follows Dortmund and just kind of German leagues and stuff. Like would know he's a decent defender. So definitely strengthening in that position. Don't think we're strong enough. Like even this week we've got Kolasinac and Monreal both out injured, so we do not have a left back to start the season with. So obviously there's places where we can, even though I don't think Kolasinac is necessarily a left back, I think he's kind of been turned into a left back. He's more left winger. But we don't have any
back for Schalke primarily. Schalke kind of alternated between a 3 at the back and a 4 at the back.
Right.
So in fact, he got the Bundesliga team of the season when we signed them at left back.
Okay, well, fair enough. But even still, we don't have him for a few weeks. Monreal picked up an injury, so we don't know when he will be fit. So I think it's going to be Maitland-Niles, the youngster, who's going to be starting next week, and that worries me. Although having seen him play when he came on for Kolasinac at the Aviva, he did very well. Like,
he's a very tidy player.
Second half were very poor.
Yeah.
To be fair, but also any time that he was challenged or he was tested, he was well for the test. So, would be worried about that position in particular. But in the grand scheme of things, we've done well over the transfer window, which had given me this hope before this morning's news, in which my confidence has now dropped to 60%, and
and it's currently getting bought out.
I have Arsenal in the top 4.
Right.
Purely based on who we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, the pre-seasons of both Chelsea and Man United.
Yes.
Having seen Chelsea, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a bit, but I saw obviously Arsenal versus Chelsea. In the first half, Chelsea had us. Absolutely. We were pinned back. The only passes that we were successfully making were back to check, which is very frustrating to watch. So I understand how Manchester United play the fans feel 24/7. But I wasn't impressed. Like Chelsea made a couple of substitutions, but their best players were the younger ones that came on.
Yes, you earmarked Hudson-Odoi as a very good player.
Oh, he was very good. He had Bellerin roasted.
Yeah.
But any of Chelsea's big names that were playing, like Rudiger scored the goal and Cesc got the assist for it, and I think that was purely just out of spite for all the boos he was getting as he walked in to take the corner. But they didn't look convincing. And when the new guys came on, the young lads came on, the guys who didn't have names on their shirts, they just had numbers. They were actually putting in more of a shift than the others had done. I know it's pre-season friendly; you can't take too much from it.
Yeah, of course.
Just from that, and they're kind of, turbulent pre-season in comparison to Arsenal's. That's why I'd have Arsenal above them, Chelsea and.
Before we kind of talk about the Chelsea stuff then, the main thing I wanted to really address about Arsenal, obviously with the signings, a lot of them were very defensive, kind of necessary signings, I think you'll agree. But obviously the big thing about Arsenal this year is Emery and the system he's going to employ. Did you see did you see the start of this new system at Arsenal, or is it still kind of more the same?
Off the ball, I think they were a lot more determined to get the ball back. I think one of the things is that when Chelsea were coming forward in the match, Bellerin was cut out a few times on the break.
Yes.
And I think he was more shocked and stunned that there might be someone faster than him, that he couldn't actually react to the fact that he had to chase the ball and get the ball back. But when we got the switch between the offensive football that we have been playing when we got caught out and the defensive like funneling back sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It was a lot quicker. I don't know, maybe it was because I was there in person to witness it, but I felt like it was a lot more fluid, as in the transitions between attacking football and defensive football were it wasn't a, oh shit, I've lost the ball, better go back and defend it. It was more of, right, get the ball back. This happens. I'm going to lose the ball at some point. I'm going to, I think a lot of players, probably Ozil kind of gets it probably the most, that if the ball doesn't go his way or the pass doesn't come off, he might sulk or throw his arms in the air and like, oh, for fuck's sake, I should have, where there was none of that. It was, right, get back and defend. And like the first half we were dire, but at the same time defensively there was maybe 2 or 3 chances where Chelsea got in behind us, but we funneled back and made it extremely difficult for them to get it into the box, or if they were already in the box, to move it anywhere into a shooting position. So that, it was encouraging to see that.
Good.
In terms of forward and attacking football, there was that was non-existent in the first half. But there were 1 or 2 quick balls over the top for Aubameyang, which we haven't had a striker where that has been an option for us. Like Giroud, as much as he is a god, he is not the type that you can lob the ball over and hope he'll run onto and skin the keeper. Yeah. That's, he's not that type of player. Whereas Aubameyang does give us that option, and the combination of him and Lacazette could be absolutely lethal, because Lacazette would be more the kind of stationary midfield or striker up in the box, but Aubameyang to hit the ball in behind and cross it into him. Again, I didn't see that combination, but it's very clear that they have the potential to be a lethal combination.
Yeah.
It was just different because we haven't had a long ball system for quite some time. It used to be like for Theo Walcott, like, oh shit, we're under pressure, just knock it down, Walcott, we'll keep it in play until he loses it. And that was our system for long balls has been for years. So now we actually have someone who can reach the end of a long ball, have the pace to keep it in play, and have the skill to pass it off to someone else on the team. So that's a new thing, and that is something that can definitely be worked on this year, and be interesting to see would that combination of Lacazette and Aubameyang start in a match.
Because you don't get many strike partnerships nowadays, and in a way, like, even if you look at the top 6 sides, because obviously with Liverpool play with a 3, so I don't know if you can kind of argue that as a partnership. It's more of a it is a trio, so it's like they're all attacking at the one time. With a partnership, there's link up play.
Ozil and Lacazette. At the point, that could be extremely.
I was about to say that this could be a really great year for Ozil, because now you have a lot more other midfielders around him that's going to be doing the jobs that he was kind of like, I don't want to say like lax on, but the jobs that he's not there not designed for. You have Torreira doing the work rate. You have Ramsey and whoever else is going to be wide. Presumably you'll play guys like FUWBAWLL and so forth in that midfield as well. So Ozil now can just be the supplier for 2 forwards, and I think he'll really enjoy that, because, like I said, we kind of spoke at length about how Ozil, he is fantastic at being a playmaker, but not necessarily nothing else. But once his only job is being a playmaker, it's very hard to stop him, So, like I said, it could be a very potent partnership up front. It will just depend on how you guys do defensively as well.
Exactly. I'm really, really hoping, because what I'm really hoping for is that Emery really, really favours the 4-4-2.
Yeah.
Kind of the 4-4-2 press, and I'm really, it's probably not going to happen, but I'd be really happy. I'd be really delighted to see how it would go out if we went with a proper front 2 through the middle, like with Aubameyang and Lacazette straight through the middle, down the centre,
I think it only makes sense because I can't see because he usually goes with like a 4-2-3-1 like Wenger used to, and obviously with a bit more like kind of like a pressing formation there. I don't think that's your best formation. Like at the minute, your 2 best possessions are your 2 forwards, so you have to give all the service you can with that. So I think a diamond 4-4-2 makes the most sense there. You're right, because like I said, you now have a choice of holding midfielders, or better still, compact that midfield, make it as narrow as possible, because you have the width from the fullbacks. It makes sense to run with the formation you're thinking of. Whether he goes for that or not, or maybe he thinks that you need to commit more numbers in midfield, we'll wait and see. I would agree with you in saying that formation is the way to go.
Yeah. And just even to give us that kind of defensive stability as well.
Yeah, exactly. So with that being said, then let's crack on with Chelsea. Another year, another new coach at the most at the position with the most job security in the Premier League, and that's only it's kind of sad that it's only half a joke now at this stage. But the new man is
Maurizio. Half a joke. It's more of a statement of fact.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, at least they're not Watford. So Maurizio Sarri is now in charge of Chelsea. And he brings his own unique flavour of football, FUWBAWLL, as it's called, made famous at Napoli. Obviously, Bert, you've seen firsthand at supposedly how FUWBAWLL looks like. Is it good?
If it's anything like the first half, then yeah, that's fine. That is quick counter-attacking, more so than... They waited for us to fuck up on the ball and then completely exposed us.
Mm-hmm.
In the second half, though, if that's what FUWBAWLL is, we have no issues. They were absolutely dreadful in the second half. Now, again, pre-season friendly, a lot of changes, a lot of subs came on, but there was nothing to be afraid of.
Interesting.
It was purely our lack of finishing that had us only have one at full time.
Yeah.
And needing a last minute equaliser from Lacazette. But they were, again, it's very, very hard to say in a pre-season friendly, but at the back they seemed to be very lax, more so than sloppy. It was sloppy decisions. There was not watching the play, not watching the runners, and then being caught out by Callum Chambers. Of all, we had Bellerin on in the first half, and he wasn't having much luck against
Odoi,
yeah. He was being smoked, and then Chambers came on and completely snuffed out that attack, and also was able to get in behind the defence and have some decent crosses into the box.
Yeah.
Which Chelsea scrambled. Now they had they were relying on Caballero to make saves, which he did surprisingly, but it was just a strange old pre-season friendly. I can't stress that enough, how much they probably didn't care. But it was just unusual to see that kind of disinterest in the second half. Like, it was like they were bored out on the pitch. And yes, they were losing. It wasn't like they were 7-0 up or 22-0 up and, coasting. They were being under attack, but just didn't seem to care.
Yeah, like I said, the impression I'm getting with Chelsea is that obviously they've got a coach in who I feel like his system takes a long time to get into the players, because even by his own volition, he is the type that overcomplicates, and he's very intricate and very kind of like a neurotic, I suppose. Like it's a very high concept type of football, and it works for a team like Napoli where you have like a president who just goes, take your time, we understand that it's going to take a while for this to bed in. With Chelsea though, I don't see that patience. And not only don't I don't see that patience from the board, but I don't see the patience with the players, because out of the Champions League, and a lot of players are in that stage now where they're reaching their 30s and they want to start winning Champions Leagues, and they want to start winning titles outside of England, because they've already done it now. They've only won the Premier League, so they want to try and win somewhere else. So it goes without saying there's so much flux with this Chelsea team, and I don't feel this is the team that Sarri will want. He's obviously got Jorginho into the side, which is a great buy. Sniped him straight away from Manchester City, surprisingly. But that's really pretty much it. They're trying to spend money.
Hold on. They They
Oh,
had like one of the best signings of this transfer window.
I don't. I'm trying to double check.
Robert Green.
Oh, you mean that signing?
With
Yes.
Courtois gone AWOL, Robert Green might have to be the hero Chelsea need right now.
It's funny you should mention that, Burkball, because he's just saved a penalty in a shootout with Leon. So won them the game. So
what
I
did
guess.
I say, podcast listeners? I'm 100% record with this.
Not all heroes wear capes.
But all of them are called Robert Green. So speaking of goalkeepers, and you were saying about Courtois, they are apparently going to sign Kiba Arrizabalaga from that's a weird name to say, from Bilbao for like about £71 million, which is nuts.
When they have Rob Green that they got for free.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? Like so many, it's football's gone mad, really, isn't it? Like, why would you need a goalkeeper for 70 million when he's just there, ready to go? You know, ready to roll, ready to rock. Saved Huddersfield, you know, from being on the bench all season. Mental. But yeah, like, I just don't get the impression that this is Sarri's side. You know, it's still a Conte side. Even the players he's trying to, like, bed back into the side of players that were just not there last season. David Luiz is supposedly his keystone in the defence. Ross Barkley getting a game. Danny Drinkwater getting a game. And conversely, then the players that are missing out are players like Victor Moses, white players, perhaps even Marcus Alonso when he comes back from injury. And you know, there's great talk about whatever midfield they might have, like potentially Kovacic coming in, potentially, like, you know, then Kante coming back into the side after the World Cup. You know, great idea for a midfield, a good engine room midfield, but very poor with forwards. You know, Morata looks completely shot as a forward. You know, I don't think you could even loan him out anywhere. Giroud is really the only option there. In terms of that, I still don't think he's quite the forward that Sarri would want. Then again, he did wonders with Higuain, so I could be wrong. I don't know what your guys' views on it are, but I just feel that this is not the side Sarri wants, and I don't think he's going to have the time to try and make a side that he wants.
I think so. I think it's partially true. Sarri basically, ever since his time at Napoli, he's basically he's stuck with a 4-3-3. It's the only formation he's ever used.
Yes.
And it worked phenomenally for Naples, even though his first line to the Naples to De Laurentiis, the Naples president, said, "We're going to lose our first 7 games."
Which is honest, at least.
He honest, but he didn't. To be honest with you, they wound up actually storming it. So with a 4-3-3, they just don't have the players for it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Particularly, as you said, the 3 at the front. It's unusual. To be honest with you, but David Luiz and Rudiger at the back, I probably wouldn't do that. I would pair Luiz with Christensen.
I was about to say Christensen, Rudiger might seem like a better shout. As like as glassy that is, that's probably the best you're going to get with that side.
You know, that's the thing. Like Rudiger and Luiz seems a bit of a shaky foundation, I think.
Definitely.
Although to be honest with you, with Kante and Jorginho, they're going to have ample midfield protection. But we'll see how it is. Batshuayi should be coming back. I think he'd be brilliant loan deal at Dortmund.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and like I said, it was very much a case that Conte just didn't fancy him. Could be the case Sarri might see him. It really just depends. You know, he has to just find his perfect side in what he has, because from accounts they are trying to buy players, but you know, time's running out, lads. At the same time,
that's it. Well, the thing is that it's going to be one of the things that I think the friendly showed was that they really no depth. Like they've got except some of the players that they've got are actually like one of the best in the world at their positions. Players like fucking Hazard, Courtois if he stays, but he's probably not going to.
No.
Rudiger I think is one of the best centre backs around. Dave is one of the best fucking full backs around. Kante of course, Jorginho, unbelievable. Cesc, as much as it burns me, is still a brilliant player. And I think Cesc and Luiz are going to be the two main beneficiaries of the switch to the 4-3-3.
Yes.
So, but past those players, though, past the base 15, 16 players, there's really nobody. They're talking about loaning out Loftus-Cheek back to Palace, which I think would be insane.
Ridiculous idea.
You know, especially when, you know, loaning him out, they'll probably keep Barkley. And I was like, why? If any...
he was useless.
Exactly. I was like, if anything, loan out Barkley and keep Loftus-Cheek. He's great. He's a very good player.
Brilliant.
Going off Palace, you know, Palace would be insane not to really push for that.
Mm-hmm.
If I was at Palace, I'd be like, hey, I'll have you in the team every single fucking week in, week fucking out, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Just give him football. That's all he needs.
I'd be tapping him up, you know.
So
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, and like I said, they're only making a move for players now, and they're very kind of like, they're on the back foot, and it's weird seeing Chelsea in the back foot, but I suppose that's what happens when you're out of the top four now, and they're like batting away bids for Willian and Hazard and Courtois, and you know, obviously everyone's looking for Rob Green now as well since his resurgence. So at the same token, like, they're now trying to replace players before they eventually get moved on. Like, Hazard could easily go at the end of the month, and Chelsea can't do anything about it, you know, in a way. Courtois is very much out the door, in my opinion. I don't see him coming back, hence why they're trying to spend big money on this incomprehensible Spanish goalkeeper. And yeah, like I said, it feels like a team that will actually make sense come January. But knowing Chelsea, January is sometimes too late, especially for someone like Sarri, who might just have to admit, saying, look, this is going to be a work in progress for a while. You'll need to give me time. Chelsea don't give people time. That's the reality of it.
Well, he's had absolutely no time, given that the idiotic way they handled getting rid of Conte and getting Sarri in.
Exactly, yeah. It's been a shambles from the start.
They left it so goddamn late that Conte actually took the first week of pre-season training after Sarri had agreed to take the job.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
I know.
It is so bizarre, but it's kind of like the chaos of Chelsea. This seems to happen quite a lot, and they tend to still make it through the season, you know, doing well, getting results. Like what you're saying, that like in their positions they've got some of the best in the world. But it is that squad depth as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still see them being. They just have the players that, if you know, this is bearing in mind that they stay and they're not gone by the end of the week in a certain season, that are going to be the difference between, you know, completely capitulating like some teams would in this situation, where they've been through this kind of shit show of a pre-season before and still come out relatively unscathed.
Yeah.
And kind of. That's what I think is going to happen, is that they've got players that are too good that they're not going to capitulate entirely, but at the same time they're not going to set the league alight with their with results. I think it's going to be ground out results, and I think only like some of those players like the likes of Cesc and the likes of Hazard can grind out results like that, whereas not necessarily the same wouldn't have been said maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago from the Chelsea squad, that they're looking for that brilliance, and when they have to dig deep they don't really have the gall to do it. If they continue their disinterested form that they've had in pre-season, then I would be fairly confident that they'll have a shambolic season, but I don't know. I fear like they just got so much quality that if they do get their shit together, then they're going to be shit hot.
That's the thing. Like I think the Charity Shield was a very good example of that, where City very much kind of countered to a 2-0 win. Like they could have easily put the pressure on a bit more, and the deficiencies in certain points or certain areas, let's say, were very key. Again, I kind of draw back to Morata being like essentially getting the nod, or at least in that game, to be the number 9. And very much failed his audition. Like a lot of people were slating him, thinking his performance was very poor, losing the ball, late to balls again. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like he's doing the same thing that he did with Conte, and just like that whatever like service he's getting, he's always too late to it. And that's why Giroud then got the nod ahead of him, because Giroud can actually fucking time a header, shock horror. But the thing is, you're now that the panic mode is set in now, trying to get players in. They should be getting players in to replace their deficiencies, rather than now trying to like, oh, let's just have the best midfield, or let's just have the best goalkeeper, which they kind of shoot themselves in the foot anyway with not pinning down Courtois to a new deal. I understand that, but centre forward is what you need in essence. You need to try and offload people like Morata, who are clearly not suited for the league.
Or Bakayoko, who plays like he's got his fucking shoelaces tied together.
He's gone. He is apparently going to Milan on loan.
Yeah.
So he's
hopefully
gone.
they fired him there in a fucking cannon.
He was desperately bad. So that's the thing. And this happens every year with Chelsea, or every 2 years when they get a new coach. It's just more and more chaos, more flux. You know, yeah, it worked last time with Conte, in my view, because Conte found the perfect system where he said, right, the back three is working, all these wing backs are doing the trick and no one has a response, let's just go for it. And they won the league from that. Now Sarri has to now do the exact same thing and do it in a timely fashion with a squad that doesn't suit it. So that's why I think it's a tougher job this time than it was with Conte. Because at least with Conte, you had the players there. Like Marcus Alonso and Moses were in the squad regardless and are born for that role, for those positions. As you said, the 4-3-3 does not suit this Chelsea side.
Yeah.
So, we all happy with that then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about Tottenham then. Not much to talk about really about them. It's same old from them, bar a brand new toilet seat shaped stadium. Which I'm sure
can't play.
Which you can, yeah. Pretty much, yeah. They have to wait for a few weeks until the fucking until the plasters are finished. But
until the toilet duct evaporates.
Oh, that word, yeah. Well, that makes sense actually.
It gets caught under the rain when you spray it up there, like
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, like it's hard to say about Spurs. Like they don't really like sign that many players anymore. They're fairly happy with the bunch they have. I think they're gonna really struggle at the start of the season because the bulk of their team was at the World Cup and kind of went all the way. So they're gonna be at odds and ends for the first month, I'd say, and then Sir Harry Kane will rise from his throne and save us all from damnation, I suppose. I believe they're signing just one player in Jack Grealish, which is, woo. Good for you, I guess. Like I said, it's actually. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, 30 million for like a haircut essentially is good work, I suppose.
Bruce is well fed up with people asking him about it. He says he can't wait for Thursday.
I don't blame him, considering that like for the last like few months they were like desperate to sell him, and now look, we found all this money at the back of the couch with an Egyptian tag on it. Oh yeah, no, well that's fine then, we can keep him. We might try and get promoted to the Premier League or something. That sounds like a quaint idea. That might solve the financial crisis we're having.
Yeah, the thing, if I was Grealish, I wouldn't be sure if I'd want to go to Tottenham, not because I'm an Arsenal fan. It's just that they've had the entire window to buy him, and now they're apparently arguing around about £7 million.
Yeah, they're haggling. Yeah,
which is that's like Spurs are unfortunately now a Champions League team, so that's pissing money. Like,
absolutely.
That actually fills me with confidence.
Well, that's the thing. Are they now paying for the stadium?
I don't think he's short of confidence, though.
I think you're arrogant.
Yeah, that's wrong word there, but close enough. You points for effort.
But, I think they've been hoisted by the petard of their usual last-minute trolley dash to the transfer window. But also, they've got £1 billion stadium to finance now.
Yeah.
So like, they're putting all they're doubling down on their hand, and the thing is, when you do that, it'll only go one of two ways. It'll either blow up in your face, or hey, it'll fucking really work.
Yeah.
I think they'll really screw up their start, because they've no real replacement for a lot of their squad. Like people are saying what Llorente is their backup to Kane. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got bells on it. So
yeah. Like I said, there's nothing really to talk about them because there's been no really improvement. Like you might see the odd young player here and there, perhaps. Like I think Harry Winks is back from injury, so he'll probably feature on the side a bit more, potentially replacing Dembele. And if they do sign Grealish, that's probably a replacement for Dembele outright as well. So, like I said, there's not much to talk about with the Spurs side because they've been fairly dead set.
I expected him to really stick with the squad primarily that Pochettino that he built last season, but just not the third degree of absolutely signing nobody.
Mm-hmm. It's also that they're not really being courted by anybody. Like there's no Real Madrids or Barcelona's at the door looking for their players.
Well, they got to sign an extension. Did you get all the players to sign an extension?
Yes, they did. Yeah, well, 5-year ones like last year.
The main names stop people leaving.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair enough. So, I suppose we just move on from Spurs then, because we haven't got really much to talk about. Like we're not being biased or anything like that, or I'm not being outnumbered here, but there's generally not much to say here. Like even the preseason went fine. There was nothing noteworthy about it. No real kind of stars developing either. It was just more the same. Like see how many, maybe one or two young players come out. I think Walker Peters had a good season. That's it. That's all I have. I'm sorry, Spurs fans. That's all your team are giving us at the minute. So now,
they'd be used to that though. If you're a Spurs fan, you're not really.
That's true. Yeah.
Anything to talk about.
Always the bridesmaid, as they say. So now, boys and girls, get the popcorn out. Manchester United.
Oh.
Who'd like to take point?
I think Neil should take point. On this because just the pure anger.
Yes.
Is palpable. I think from even here, all these miles away.
It's just wow, just fucking wow. I can't. I honestly kind of don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
From an entire preseason slagging off his own players.
Yeah.
Stating that none of them will really, a lot of them won't make his first team, which is surely got to be the, jet fuel to the rocket of your self-esteem.
Yeah, totally.
And he's just like, he's predicting difficult seasons. He's miserable. He's bitching about Liverpool. I mean, fuck me, we're really getting a classic Mourinho third season.
It's third season syndrome. That's exactly what it is.
But yeah, this is third season syndrome, and he is cranking that shit up to 11.
Yeah.
Fuck me, like it's unbelievable. Signing wise, they've done pretty much fuck all.
Yeah.
They needed quite a bit actually, in terms of players to give them width and more. They have a very aging squad. They needed to replace a few central defenders, some central midfielders. Instead, they signed Fred, some injured Porto 19-year-old
Dallo. Yeah.
Who else did they sign? They signed a third player.
Lee Grant from Stoke City.
Lee Grant, yeah, and signed Lee Grant. So that's great.
Good job, buddy.
A £50 million midfielder, which they kind of didn't really need. A crocked 19-year-old Portuguese player, and a third-string goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And that's the thing, and when you look at the targets that United want, that Mourinho wants, I want to specify that these are targets that Mourinho wants. In my view, those are not the targets that United want, because the way I see it is that there is a big conflict of interest, or at least a big kind of like conflict in what Mourinho wants from his side and what United want for the club. And that's where I think the friction is starting to happen. I think it was kind of starting last year in my view, and then they had a decent domestic season that papered over the cracks, but it's the dam's starting to burst here now, lads, where in my view there is a massive, and you can kind of see it really, there's a massive disconnect between Mourinho and United, even at this early stage. There's no...
Yeah, they had a great season in terms of on paper they were getting results.
Yes.
They were miles behind City, and they were never going to catch them. But in terms of continuing on getting results, grinding out, results in like tough places, they were doing that. They were doing all the things right and that sort of thing. But I know United fans, and these are diehard United fans, who would not watch the matches. That they went from, oh sure, United are playing, I can't do anything, I have to watch the match, or they'd be over watching the matches.
Yeah.
They have no interest in going and seeing that squad. Because of the type of football and the brand of football. It was Mourinho football, not like I never thought, and obviously this is probably a bit biased, but I've never thought United have been the prettiest footballers. Like for a good few years, they haven't had a football style that you rush to see.
No.
Like maybe, and this like actually physically hurts me to say, but when they signed Van Persie that season, they had a decent style of football that really suited him, and but since then they haven't had the greatest football style. But the fans still went, and they still enjoyed going to see them play. But this year has just been like, yeah, we're getting results. I was like, but you must be happy, like you're getting the results. And they're like, yeah, but the performances, I'd rather watch paint dry, or it was bizarre to see that kind of dissociation from the club coming from fans who I know have been fans for years.
Yeah.
And it's all stemming from the manager.
It is.
So throughout the season, that was getting more pronounced. And when it came to maybe April and May, when there was just like seriously no hope of them catching, like City had it wrapped up, and they weren't really performing well, in any other competitions. Like people were just completely going mad, and I actually thought Jose might go before the end of the summer. But
he's still here.
He's still here, and he's still angry. And as an outsider, it's hilarious to see someone with so much contempt for his own players. Like he's actually physically annoyed by them, by their presence of being in front of him. Like how dare these, inferior players stand before him. And I literally think it is that mentality. Like he thinks he's too big to train these guys, to give them any sort of, and only maybe because they're a bit more creative than he'd like them to be, and he wants them to listen to, he wants them to jump off a bridge if he tells them to. Whereas kind of that's not the players that United breed. They have cocky, arrogant, creative players.
Yes.
Who want to be nurtured and told to express themselves as players, not being drilled into doing boring shit.
Yes.
And that's even with Pogba played very well during the World Cup because he had a free role. Like he didn't have a defined role in the French midfield.
Yeah.
He was just told to roam, which that's where he does his best stuff. If you're telling him to stay in a locked barrier of four midfielders and not venture forward until he's told to, he's not going to get the best performances. So, that's exactly what's happening here is that players Mourinho wants are kind of malleable, kind of soldiers, empty-headed soldiers.
Yeah, workmen. He wants workmen in his team, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't want big stars.
No. Yeah.
And that is where United are fucked.
Yeah. So.
That they're picking fights with their own players. I mean, just take a look at how he's treating Martial.
Shocking. Absolutely fucking shocking. I was just about to start delivering hot takes about about the likes of Martial and all that. But yeah, a good example of that. So yeah. I don't know, much like you, Neil, I don't know where to start with Mourinho, but even from like day one of pre-season, he was moaning like fuck, and I don't know if he's like become self-aware about his third season syndrome, but I think the players and the club have become very, very aware of the third season syndrome, and it's not a case of like some managers who like are not necessarily like they're mercenaries, but like look at Ancelotti for example. He doesn't last that long in a club as such, but he does guarantee success and then he moves on, and that's maybe just the way he does it. It's very kind of like high demand, like whatever system he has, it's very like demanding, and then if people get burnt out, that's fair enough. But Mourinho's style of football is not like that. There is no intensity to his play. There's no intensity to his training, I'd imagine. It's all about drilling. It's all about instruction. It's all about go here, do this, shut up, go here, do this, go out, you're leaving. And for me, and this is probably the hottest take of all, I think Man United are already preparing for life after Mourinho, because and the reason I'm saying that is that Martial is still at the club. There's no desire to sell him. Paul Pogba is still at the club, no desire to sell him. Luke Shaw is still at the club, no desire to sell him. Not even to send him out on loan to get his fitness. All those players are staying put because...
Is that just because no one wants Luke Shaw?
Not even that, but Barcelona want Pogba, and they're happy to offer 2 players to sign Pogba, and United said no. Ed Woodward said no, but Mourinho would have happily taken that if he was in control, which he's not. So Woodward is seeing 2 or 3 steps beyond here, where he's saying hang on, these players, if we sold off Martial to Chelsea or Spurs, he becomes a world-class player. Similarly to Rashford, even to Luke Shaw, he might just kick into gear and become a great player. And again, there is so much raw talent in that side that needs to be coached. And Jose Mourinho can't coach. He's a manager. He gets a team organised. He's basically Tony Pulis, but with a fucking Portuguese accent, right? Simple as that. He can't coach young players. He can't nurture young players. He doesn't know how to develop them. I don't think he even knows how to fucking talk to them half the time. He doesn't want to handle young players because they're work, and you need to put effort in to develop young players. Every other manager in the top 6 wants to work with young players. Sarri is bringing in Hudson-Odoi, but knowing Chelsea, he'll be loaned out to fucking Vitus Arnhem. Spurs try and break in a few stars. Liverpool do the same thing. Arsenal, Man City, even Pep Guardiola himself, right? With Man City being Chelsea light, not letting young players into the side, has been working with young players and going, I fucking love these kids. And he says it in press conferences, he points out, he names them, saying Diaz is a brilliant player, Mafio, Foden, loves playing with him, wants them to go out on loan and get experience. Mourinho is the exact opposite, as you guys were saying. So, he's getting sacked this season. Simple as that. At some stage this season, whether it be early on or late on, he is getting sacked. And in my personal opinion, the next manager is already waiting in the wings. And I think it's Zinedine Zidane. I'll tell you why. Because there's not a single player on Mourinho's list that's getting signed. Ivan Perisic has been told by Mourinho, or the club have had Mourinho say to them, I want this player. This is the one player I want. They get Alexis Sanchez instead. Right? There's no rhyme or reason to that when you have a player like Juan Mata who plays in the exact same position. Alexi was just the cheapest option. And the other players that they're looking for are centre backs like Alderweireld, who's 30 years old. Yerry Mina, I think, will potentially be signed by United, but again, I think United are looking for players that will become great players for the next manager, and I think it's going to be Zidane, because Zidane, I think, can get players like those sort of mercurial ones like Lukaku and Pogba and Mina and all these other players that could come in, and people will now want to play for Zidane. They're not going to want to play for Mourinho. So I have United to tailspin this season. I have him to get sacked this season. The meltdown is just going to keep going because those players aren't coming back. A lot of those English players and French players not coming back just yet. So he's working with scraps all season. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think he is gone already. He's dead man walking.
Yeah, I think there's good money going on Jose leaving early, so could be one to look out for. Whether it's going to be Zidane replacing him, I don't know, but sure, we can only wait to...
Well,
I don't think we'll be waiting very long, to be honest.
I think he's pretty much safe from the sack. I think he's got more of a chance of him just walking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I think that's more his style. He'll go before he's pushed.
Well, one way or the other, I think, because I think he already knows. I think he knows which way the wind is blowing himself, Mourinho, because there's a very odd clip of him and Ed Woodward, like, because there's like a press pit after one of the preseason friendlies, and Mourinho's walking past, and Woodward kind of like rushes up and talks to him, and like kind of like shouts at him, then pulls him back and talks to him, and in a way like it's a very strange conversation. You kind of have to look at it for yourself and see, but it kind of came across like Woodward was kind of chastising Mourinho for something, and then Mourinho was kind of like a bit befuddled leaving. So there's clearly no communication between the two. Apparently Woodward himself has gone AWOL when in regards to Mourinho. Won't discuss transfer dealings at all. It looks like, Woodward's kind of signing players on Mourinho's behalf rather than actually consulting him on what he wants. It's very, very baffling. And the way I see it is, I think there's some cloak and dagger shit going on at United, and Woodward is seeing the way this is gonna go in the end, which is Mourinho leaving and being left with absolute shit to work with. Because look at Inter, they have not been the same since Mourinho left. Chelsea needed a good time to get. Chelsea thankfully had Conte to come in and completely revolutionise the side. Likewise with Real Madrid had fucking Rafa Benitez take over from Mourinho, and it was a hot mess, that team. Similarly, Porto took some time to come back. So there is a track record of Mourinho leaving scorched earth behind him. And I think Woodward, seeing this pattern and kind of recognising the risks of it, is trying to say, look, I'm not going to let him scorch our earth. I'm going to start signing players on fucking someone else's behalf. And that's my theory.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be it's going to be entertainment, pure and simple, this season.
I have the popcorn out from Friday night. I am going to be enjoying. Yeah. I am going to be watching this house burn because he's been throwing shit at us for so long, and I think from the moment Shaqiri scored an overhead kick against them in a big field, that's it's literally called, that has my season sorted. That nothing else can happen now. I'm happy. That's happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit back and enjoy this season purely for the fact that Jose Mourinho is going to have a horrible, horrible time. Either he's going to win the entire league because football is broken. Yeah, it's exactly a meltdown. Absolutely. So with the big hitters kind of out of the way, then we're going to go straight down to the bottom of the league and talk about relegation contenders. Who have you guys considered for?
Okay, I'm going to shock you.
Oh, do I sense a hot take on the way? Call the fire alarm.
Well, no, I don't think it's particularly hot.
All right.
Since I can never remember who they are or that they exist, I have Watford as my 20th team.
Interesting, right?
All I've heard about them this is that they got 50 million off Everton for a player I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So, fair play to them on doing that, but since I don't know anything else about them, and I refuse to learn.
That's the key thing here.
Yeah, I that's literally all the information I can give you on them, because I don't know anything.
The only thing I know is that they're getting relegated, and they will be, from my mind, one way or the other.
Yeah, they're already relegated as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm. And would you believe, Burkbot, I agree with you. I think Watford are going down as well. Reason being is that I think this Watford manager is useless. Not necessarily useless in that he doesn't provide anything that Marco Silva didn't. And this guy is coming across like he's like a placeholder. He's like a template that you leave there until a new manager comes in. At least in Watford, they at least had a pedigree of having like decently well-known managers like Mazzarri, Silva, Jukanovic before, all of them. All had a reason to be there as such. But this guy is just some fuck. His pedigree is not very good. Even the quality of football they had when he came in was very, very poor. And it was only because Silva did exceptionally well before he left did Watford actually even stay in the league. I think they were like the bottom, the most bottom club before the end of the season. They were in a tailspin last season. And I'm actually just surprised that this guy is still in the job. Cavi Gracia, I think his name is. No, I don't fancy them at all. The signings they've had are average at best. They're the same kind of like signings from the same 3 fucking clubs owned for the same fucking family, they're gone. They're completely gone from the league, in my opinion, because they're not keeping up with all the other mid-table sides who are breaking transfer fee records, who are signing off these red-hot fucking players, and they're signing fucking Ben Foster. You know what I mean? There's no evolution there on that side. And as you said, they sold off their cash cow to their former manager. What else do you need to do? Basically, you haven't even replaced the fucking player.
Yeah.
Now the other person. Sorry,
go
go ahead.
Is Watford both of yours 20s?
I believe I have them down as 19th or 18th. Double check that.
My 20th is Cardiff.
Yeah, Cardiff is my 20th.
Cardiff is my 18th.
Jeez, I thought you were going to say there's a 5 there, and we were going to have words. Yeah. Look, it's the same old shit with Neil Warnock. Great Championship manager, terrible Premier League manager.
He's fun to have around.
Yeah,
he looks like no fire.
Yeah, in that sense, he's fun because you think he's going to pop out of a fridge with his face full of cream going, hello! But otherwise, not for being a Premier League manager. No way. Hell of an achievement getting up to the league in the first place. They've signed good players, but they're all Championship level. Probably the pick out of them, I say, would be Bobby Reid, who you'll recognise from all the gifs from Bristol City last season. That's about it. Otherwise, they haven't revolutionised the team either. So they're kind of sticking with the same central group that got there. And much like Neil Warnock, they'll be relying mostly on home form, trying to eke out results. Very, very defensive until it all goes to pot and he's gone out of the job. I just don't think Cardiff have the quality to survive in the league. Simple as that.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
So, seeing that we've kind of all agreed on Cardiff then, who do we else think is going to be in the relegation scrap this season?
I have Wolves.
Interesting. What's your logic on it?
They're doing a lot of transfers.
Yes.
They've got the likes of Benik Afobe, who I like. He's a former Arsenal youth player, and I do think he just needs a club where he can get a consecutive run of games where he can a kind of injury-free run, and I think he can be quite a good striker. He's best friends with Jack Wilshere, and they kind of share similar injury records.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They've got Rui Patricio from Sporting Lisbon. They have Ruben Vinagre from Monaco. Like, these are all big kind of clubs that they're taking players from, but I don't necessarily think that they're going to gel together as a squad and actually do well.
Yeah,
we've got adapt Traore as well.
They have more or less signed them. It's just down to the medical. So it's just waiting to be announced. Right.
Okay. Well, they're certainly doing a lot of transfers, but I just think that the teams around them in that relegation scrap will be better off.
Right.
Now, I was tempted to have Bournemouth down there.
I do.
Purely because I like Bournemouth, I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Bournemouth kind of found themselves in a bit of a scrap this last season, and then they obviously got that kind of run of games they normally get, and then they're kind of out of trouble then. They actually finished up quite high in the table, like more high up the table than I remember. It is the sort of thing though, like they have like basically committed a lot of money to Jefferson Lerma. That's their only really big signing as far as I can remember. I don't recall any other signings from Bournemouth. So, or Diego Rico actually, sorry, really good left back from Spain. But either way, like those two signings aside, it remains to be seen if Bournemouth can actually keep up with the spending and whatever else is going on around them, especially in that kind of mid to bottom table scrap. You are more or less just competing directly with financially competing with whoever's around you, which brings me to Newcastle. So I think Newcastle might survive, but it's purely based on if Rafa is still there at the end of the season. If Rafa leaves, they are gone. Simple as that.
I have Newcastle at 18th because I think he'll walk.
Yeah, you see, I have them 17 because I think he'll stay. And that's again me being very, very optimistic, and I think Rafa has some sort of weird Stockholm syndrome where I think he just loves the club, he loves the fans and all that, but it's just that fat prick that runs it that he hates and won't give him any fucking money. So it's a tough one, really. Unfortunately, I do see Southampton in trouble as well, because I just don't think Mark Hughes inspires a lot of confidence in me personally from his most recent jobs. I can't even tell you what his style of football is anymore because I don't think even he knows that. He just puts a team out, mumbles in Welsh and hopes for the best. So I think they're going to struggle as well. Even though they've signed decent players this season, again, I don't think it's enough for Southampton. They're going to be struggling this season. I also put Huddersfield in that category as well because...
Oh!
Now, I do like Huddersfield. I like Wagner. I think he's a fantastic, fantastic coach. But he did survive by the skin of his teeth last season. He got fantastic results at the start, and then there was a long time when they weren't, performing. They weren't getting anywhere. They have signed decent blue chip players, like players that could turn out really well, like Diakabe and Sovi and Eric Durm. Brilliant signing in terms of Huddersfield. And of course, they've secured the likes of Lossell. He's back. He's there permanently. That sort of type of signing. I just don't think it's going to be enough because everyone else around them has kind of done the same thing and better.
I have. Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm totally going against the. I have Huddersfield 10th.
Oh wow. Okay, show your work, Burkbot. Why are they 10th?
Wagner fangirl.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just really like the look of their signings. Now, I was kind of, when I was going through kind of the recapping of who signed who, I was looking at, for the same reason I think Wolves' team aren't going to gel. Mm-hmm. I do see the new players gelling into Huddersfield better.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's genuinely going to be a huge jump between 10th and 20th. I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of points difference there. I don't think there's going to be anyone doing spectacularly bad. I think it's going to be very, very scrappy season in general.
Yeah.
So the fact that I have them up so high doesn't mean I think they're going to do fantastic. I just think they're going to pip the rest.
We're kind of going to have like a mid-table like we had last season where 9th to 17th was so interchangeable, and then suddenly Newcastle found themselves in the top half. That sort of thing. Yeah, I agree with you, Dan.
And I think Huddersfield, I really like the Eric Durm and Diakabe, and I think just based on those two alone, I was very impressed with their kind of their get-go. And the same way I think Wolves are I'll take him, and I'll take him, and I'll take him. I think Huddersfield no, he'll do well in this position. No, he'll do well as a sub for this person. Or, I think there's a bit more logic going into Huddersfield. Now, obviously, this is just me surmising. But, as I have mentioned, I have a 100% record on this podcast. So.
Sure, let's go with that. So, fair enough.
Yeah.
So in that case, then, we kind of have very similar relegation candidates. So the likes of Watford and Cardiff, we feel are kind of definite going downs. Potentially Huddersfield in that category, bar maybe obviously the soothsayer in the corner. So yeah, in that case, then let's talk about kind of surprise packages. Then, obviously the mid-table is very kind of is that kind of weird nether region where you're either good or you're shit, but you're not quite shit enough to be relegated sort of region. Do we have a team? Can we earmark a team perhaps that you think is going to surprise people? Fulham. Okay. Why Fulham?
Their signings.
Yeah.
They've done very well. They've got Mitrovic from Newcastle. They've got Alfie Mawson from Swansea. They've got Andre Schürrle from Borussia Dortmund. And then Michael, Seri, like, oh my god, like these are just unbelievable names, and they're going to Fulham. And they've also got, as of today, Callum Chambers can't draw cats.
Yep.
As a loan signing for the year. So, well, like, I just think that's great. I think that's a great move for them. I don't know whether necessarily for his career if it's the right move, but he's definitely a decent one to have as either a centre back option or a right back option.
Yeah.
And I just think that they are going to be fun to watch.
I 100% agree with you. And it's exactly for the reason you said. They're signing, I think, if anyone has to win the transfer window this season, it's Fulham. Because they've more or less bought a player for every central position they have. They basically bought themselves a new spine. New goalkeeper called Fabry, who's supposed to be pretty damn good. You know, not quite international level, but just enough to be competent, you know. And like you said, more or less a whole new defence in like Mawson and Chambers, midfield, striker, wingers. And let's not forget, you still have fantastic players in Carney and Sessegnon in that side already. Really pacy players as well. The biggest loss was Fredericks, I think, to West Ham. That they should have signed that guy up like a long time before he left. That's a big loss. But the likes of Kamara, like they have a great like right winger called Kamara. There's a Ibrahim Cisse is very fast as well. They also have like a 5'6" lad called Dennis O'Doy, and he's a centre back. But he basically leaps like a trout, which is why he's in the team. But no, Fulham just play great attacking football. Simple as. They're, like I said, you're going to be fun to watch. When it comes to a team like Man City or Liverpool or someone like equally free-flowing, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be 5-3s, 4-2s. Like, we could easily get a 7-7 at some stage this season between either Wolves or Fulham. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think Fulham's going to wow people this season. And I honestly, sincerely hope they do wow. Because they have some players there I generally do like Mitrovic and Schürrle. I wish the fucking world for them, really.
Yeah.
Neil, have you got one in particular?
Yeah, I was going to go with Fulham as well. I think they're going to light it up.
Yeah.
And now, as all three of us have said that, they're going to flop.
We have, yeah, exactly.
They fucking bombed so hard.
We have all collectively jinxed them, which is a shame.
Fulham fan.
Yeah, well, listen, we don't say we get every call right in this podcast, but however. So, with that being said, then to wrap up this podcast, it's gone long enough as it is. Let's then try and look into the crystal football, as it were, and see what the Premier League table will look like. So, who wants to bring theirs up first?
I know.
Go for it, Neil. So we'll go from bottom to top. So who's start from the bottom and work your way up? As I said to the lady.
20, Cardiff, Huddersfield, Newcastle. I reckon Rafa will go. 17, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Fulham, Palace, and Bournemouth.
So that's your bottom. That's your bottom half of the table, right?
Top from 10 upwards is Leicester, Burnley, Everton, the Hammers, the Scum, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, City.
Interesting. Okay. I suppose I will go next then. So, for me then, not too far away from yours, Neil, it has to be said, but my bottom three starting off is Cardiff, top, bottom. Watford, very close to the bottom, and Huddersfield, I think they're going to be in more or less a scrap between four teams here. So I think Huddersfield are going down, and Newcastle, Southampton, and Bournemouth are going to be in that central relegation scrap. Then for the rest of the bottom of the table, our bottom half, I should say, is Burnley, 14th, Crystal Palace, 13th, Brighton, 12th, and Leicester, 11th. They're good. Like, those 3-4 sides are fine. Like, they're not going to be. I don't see them in relegation danger at all. They've signed good players. They've reinforced their squads, and they're looked after by fairly competent managers as well. So, you know, well, with exception to Leicester, I suppose. But as I said, I think some teams have now kind of gone ahead of them in the pecking order, like Fulham, who I have down as 10th. and Wolves as I have down in 9th, because with a midfield pairing of João Moutinho and Ruben Neves, you're going fucking places. Simple as that. I have Everton down 8th. I have West Ham down on 7th, and I think they could have a little bit of a charge at the top 6 if they get a good start. Man United 6th, very far away 6th. Chelsea, this is a bit of a scrap. I have Chelsea down as 5th, Arsenal 4th, Spurs 3rd, distant 3rd and 4th, but the 2-horse race is Liverpool 2nd, Man City 1st.
Okay.
So, carry on.
Okay, I have Watford.
Yep.
20th, Wolves and Cardiff. Then I have Brighton, Bournemouth and Southampton as very, very close to going down.
Yeah.
I have Crystal Palace, Leicester and Newcastle. Now, Newcastle is very much dependent on whether Benitez stays.
Yeah.
But as I made this list, it was if Benitez holds on to the job, or not necessarily holds on to the job, but does not walk away.
Pretty much, yeah.
2 fingers up. Everton, Huddersfield, Fulham, and Burnley in kind of another block. Then another block I have is West Ham, Spuds, and Man United.
Interesting.
Chelsea and Arsenal. Chelsea 4th, Arsenal 3rd. Again, very tight between them in my imagination and hopes and dreams. And Liverpool and Man City then top.
Right.
With Man City topping that. So, yeah, kind of different from you guys in terms of bottom half of the table. And I have Spuds in 6th just because I hope they don't come anywhere near the top 4. But I have to be realistic, they probably will.
I'm kind of
being logical about it, it is all dependent on Kane and whether everyone else in the team comes back 100% after the World Cup, but he comes back at 50%. They'll struggle. So that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, like I said, I think the way my kind of like league kind of came out is because Liverpool has now kind of reached, at least not quite the same level as Man City, but at least are now much closer to them as they are everyone else. It is now like an almighty scrap between 4 teams for 2 places. So in a way, which whoever comes third is going to be quite flattering, because obviously Spurs are they could be there third place solely because they're the most stable of the 4 clubs, which is why I have them up in that position. Arsenal, whoever kind of clicks first between Arsenal and Chelsea, will get the 4th place spot. I would feel that Emery's more of a fit with Arsenal than Sarri is for Chelsea, so that's my logic there. And Man United are just going to go into meltdown mode, plain and simple. So brace yourselves, Man United fans, but it's going to be a hell of a ride for you as well, because I'm sure you fucking hate Mourinho at this stage too. Again, the only really surprise in your table is Huddersfield. Like I said, you see something in them that very few people probably see in them. So at least you have. I like their jersey. It is a nice jersey, to be fair, and they're the Terriers, so you can't be mad at them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that pretty much wraps up our proceedings here, folks. So I'm sure we'll look back at this table at some stage during the year and go, oh, we're so fucking wrong. But maybe one of us will get a spot on. We win like a fucking car or something like that. I don't know. I'm not willing to pay out for that though, in fairness. So listen, folks, that is the end of our start of season podcast, and we will hopefully be back either next week or the week after, reviewing the first match days of the season and give our thoughts on it and how it's going on. But any closing statements from all of you?
I'm looking forward to this shit show.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one.
I agree. It's going to be emotional. And bye, Mourinho. That's all I can say.